Uh-oh. Here we are. Another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
It always worries me when you start it different, like with "uh-oh." Oh, now what? I think I better just sit back.
Yeah.
Now what?
Episode number 332. 332. We're chugging along here, Peter. Chugging along. The name of today's episode is not 100% correct, but we're going to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Creative real estate secret shortcuts for gargantuan profits rapidly. You'll soon see that I created a checklist at the end of this podcast. It's really about retiring early, but we'll stick with this title. Okay?
Yeah, Bill, for some of us, it's too late to retire early.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, Pete, what are you like, 85 right now? 86.
Hey, Bill, you know what I am? I'm alive.
There you go. That's spoken like a true old guy. I woke up this morning.
Yeah, you go through Facebook. Someone else died today. A famous person. Yeah.
Here's the description. We hear inflation's up, economy's going to crash, mortgage interest rates are up, and expect to get into double digits soon. And you think, what if I buy a house and the market crashes, which is causing you to not hunt for deals? Or worse, stop thinking real estate can help you. Retire quickly. This exact podcast is designed to show you how to prevent the stomach butterflies and actually do deals within the next 30 days. So you can put a check into your pocket and for most, finally prove to everyone that doubted you that you did it. How would that feel? A big check to get out of debt, help kids, parents, the homeless, maybe afford a luxury vacation without guilt. Take some time off or fly somewhere you always wanted to go. What this podcast means to you is you'll have the ability to find and choose a deal that suits you and be able to close on it, which also means you won't get stuck with nightmare deals that could wipe you out later on without you even knowing about it before it happens. So here we go.
Okay.
No comments from Peter on that description. Uh-oh.
Well, if I start commenting, I'll blow the whole podcast. I'm sure you got somewhere to go with this. I'm going to let you go with it. Look, no, I get it. You're in a certain one thing that I've learned, and I don't know if you learned it with me or earlier, is that when you're in different markets, they go up, they go down, they go sideways, they go good, they go bad. There's always something you can do.
Yeah. And
if you follow conventional wisdom, you'll get scared and hunker down. But there's always something you can do. And I won't say more than that because it's probably part of your podcast. So go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, this is not part of my podcast, but the thing that you can do, which Dan Kennedy, the marketing guru, if you would, of the day, for the last 30 years, I started listening to Dan Kennedy because I used to get his newsletter. In fact, I just resubscribed to it again because he hooked up with Russell Bunson from ClickFunnels, and it's a pretty cool thing that they have right now. Anyways, years ago, I remember reading his newsletter, and it was like January. And it was so braggiosis. But I just wrote my check for $920,000 for taxes. That's how he started the podcast. Started the newsletter. So maybe he was lying, but he's not known for lying. So, all right, anyways, let's get some housekeeping done. First of all, there is a link inside of the description of wherever you're watching us or listening to us. There is always some little surprise in there, so make sure you go check it out. I have been known to take courses that I've sold in the past for hundreds of dollars and put a link in there and not tell anybody. So there you go. They always pertain to the podcast. Whatever content we're talking about the podcast, the link will help you. It's kind of like this, like we're telling you how to do it on the podcast. I'm sorry, we're telling you what to do on the podcast, and in the link, we're showing you how to do it. So if you go there, once you hear what you need to do, then you can go, in the podcast, and you can go to the link and find out how to do it. Okay. Other thing is, make sure you subscribe to our channel or subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us or talking to us. Also, please leave us a review, Clint Eastwood style, good, bad, or ugly. Whatever you want to put in there. It's kind of funny to me because Jessie, my oldest daughter, was going over. We were at Thanksgiving, and she was looking at the podcast for whatever reason, and she went and she's like, "Dad, you got some bad reviews here." And I'm like, because we're like a 4.1 or something like that, and it's the stupidest thing because we're on episode number 332. The first 30 episodes we did, or 40 episodes, we did it in my office, and we used a bad microphone. We had no idea what we're doing. We're two old guys trying to figure out how to do a podcast, and the voices were crackly and all that kind of stuff. And there's like 5 or 8 reviews way back then that are still number 1 in our reviews. Like they show the bad reviews first. It's it's just kind of crazy. Yeah. But whatever. I mean, whatever. I mean, we've got almost 2 million downloads, so we can't be that bad.
Hey, Bill, if we look bad enough, people want to see why.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so just leave us a review. The other thing is I have a WhatsApp Messenger group that's called Let's Talk Real Estate. So if you're in WhatsApp Messenger, you can go in there. It's a group of creative real estate investors that all talk to one another. Sometimes it's really active. Sometimes it goes a week or 10 days and nobody says anything. So, but there's a really cool group there. If you want to speak to me personally or you have a question about the podcast, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side is support. I answer all the support tickets every day. All right, on with the podcast. Here we go. Peter, you're sitting down, right?
Oh, I'm sitting down twice.
Okay, good. So you could check off this list.
Yeah.
As we go.
Sure.
Retire early. What does that mean? How about having enough wealth? You don't have a care in the world. You can pick up and fly wherever and whenever you want. Laugh at Social Security because the balance in your bank account will totally support your lifestyle. You have freedom to enjoy life. Spend time with your interests and hobbies, church groups, and friends. Wake up in the morning with total financial peace. Support a charity 100%. Pick up and choose how much time to spend with kids or grandkids. Take a dream vacation. Remodel your home. Work where and when you want. Those are some indicators. Now, maybe you don't have all of them. Maybe you don't have a big fat bank account, right? Good morning, Topher.
Hey, Topher.
He called us gentlemen. I don't even know how to respond to that.
I'm ignoring it. I'm just taking it.
They said he. I'm assuming it was he.
I had a student named Topher. I think it's short for Christopher.
Oh, Christopher. Okay.
Yeah, people call him Chris, and he'd say Topher because he hated Chris. Chris, and he'd go Topher. So he started calling him Topher. Anyways, I think it's just Topher.
Thank you. Yeah. So those are just some points which we already think about. I don't need to tell you about all this. But the reason why I brought them up is because I wanted to talk about this. What retirement doesn't mean.
Oh. Okay.
Doesn't mean you stop working. Because as you're aware, you need to replenish. You sell real estate, you need to replenish.
Yep.
Right. I mean, real estate is made to take money out of, not put money into it. But you have to have real estate to take it out of.
Yep.
Right. Hang on one second.
Yeah, some properties we hold on to for a while. Some we don't hold on to very long. Some can hold quite a while. But even people that own apartment buildings, multifamilies, oh, that guy's all set. They'll turn around and sell them once in a while. And maybe even that's like, why do they do that? They just move on. No reason. They just move on. They buy something else. So it moves.
All right. So you don't stop working. You just do it on your own terms. Right. So retirement doesn't mean you stop working. You're just doing what you want, when you want, how you want. Right. And listen to what I'm going to tell you, because I think this is very important, but maybe it's just me and not everybody else. Like I said, you do what you want, or actually you do what you like to do. You don't do what you don't like to do. Now, I was in a conversation not too long ago, and they were talking about this, and they said this was age. In other words, this is your 50s and 60s and 70s. I don't think age has anything to do with it. I think it's stability. Like if you're all set, if you don't have to do something and you don't want to do it, and it doesn't affect you, like monetarily or morally or anything like that, then you shouldn't have to do it. To me, I mean, I remember for a while my sister seemed to be pretty wealthy, and I was like, damn, she's younger than me. She not that I was scoring it, but then I looked at, well, she worked for a corporation.
Yep.
And yeah, she's got a big fat IRA, but she's got restrictions. I mean, she still works. They have a boat, and she's got a boat, and she's got, but she's got restrictions. Like they can't go on the boat till 6 o'clock at night. And some Saturdays they go, and it's like, cause she works.
Right.
And I thought to myself, geez, I don't have all those restrictions. So yeah, I may not be worth what she's worth, which by the way, I passed her out. But I may not, I may not be worth what she's worth, but I've had a good, I mean, my life, regardless of all the, I get myself into trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
And even like we were talking the other day, and I'm way off cue here. I need to go back to the podcast, but I mean, I could have stopped working, had I not been, had it not been for the church, and it had not been for some goals that I have, had it not been for, we want to buy another house in Florida, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for all that, if I wanted to just keep my house and just live a simple life and have my cars paid off and have money in the bank, I could have done that.
Yeah, but see, it's a decision of what kind of life you want to have, a small one, a big one. My dad worked until he was 83. He owned a barbershop. He was a worker, but he had his business. But 83, part-time.
Right.
And he went to the casino when he wanted. He took vacations when he wanted. Right. And he ran into a guy. He ran into a 65-year-old guy. Hey, what are you doing? I'm retired. What do you do? Watch TV. Yeah. He couldn't do anything. He had no money. So it's money and freedom. Yeah. You can have a lot of money, but no freedom, or you can have a lot of freedom and no money. Right. It's really a balance act, isn't it?
Yeah. So now listen to these. These last couple.
Oh yeah, you're talking
the
about
last couple. So I'm talking about what retirement doesn't mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you work once and get paid multiple times. It doesn't mean you work by the hour and swap hours. Which brings me to the next one, which is most important. You swap ideas for money, not your time. Right. So it doesn't mean that you're, like you said earlier, that you're part of the herd and you go to your job and, no, you're doing it because like me, I get all the time, why do you work so much? I don't get it as much as I used to because I've been doing it for so long. But why do you work so much? I'm like, oh, didn't realize I was working. You know what I mean? Because I do what I want to do when I want to do. Like yesterday afternoon, I worked in the morning and I went out and had to look at a house and I made a couple of videos for Creative REI Reply and I did a couple of things and then I needed to run a couple errands and then I went out and looked at a house because we have a house that is they're giving it back to us, so we have to release it. And I came home and it was raining, nasty, storming, and it's like I felt like crap. And I'm like, you know what? I came down to my office to make sure that I didn't realize I had done what I did for the podcast already. I was going to do it. And I'm like, oh, I already did it. And I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I went upstairs, 4 o'clock, 4:15, sat in my chair, turned the TV on, and fell asleep. Got up, had dinner, went to the cigar shop, and had a freaking great night.
Yeah.
And didn't even need to worry about it because it's like that's what I wanted to do. Right? Yeah. Okay, this is good. But what are the secrets? So there's 2 of them, and then we're going to get into the list. We're going to get into the checklist. Mm-hmm. Okay. So number 1, every deal that you do must have money now, money monthly, money later. It is such a simple formula that gets discarded. We were on a coaching call on Monday night, this past Monday night. You weren't there, right? I don't think you were there.
No, I had some work.
You were working. That's right. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I didn't mean to call you out on it. I was just trying to remember. So one of the things that we did is I actually have an appointment today at 1 o'clock for one of my coaching clients that I'm going to go out and try to help him make a deal, which is unusual, but he's an old time coaching client and it's in the next town. And anyway, so I'm going to go help him. And we were going through the deal. And it's like, what deal would you do? And everybody's like throwing out, oh, I would do subject to, I would do subject to, I would do subject to, right? Well, it's like a $400,000 house. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. All right, so what's the qualifier? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what's the qualifier? How do you know that you can do a subject to deal? And we went through the money now, money monthly, money later. And you ready for this? Mm-hmm. It turned into a slot deal.
Yeah.
Because the money monthly wasn't enough. It was like $200 or $300 a month, and it wasn't enough for a $2,300 a month payment liability.
That's right. And it looks good on paper, but like, hey, are you prepared to pay $2,300 for a month or 2 or 3 if you had to? Like what? Right. Yeah, right. This isn't paper. This is real life. Right. So slot was safer.
So with money monthly, money now, money later is the qualifier of the deal. That's what you should bounce every deal up against. Like, what is my money now? What is my money monthly? And what is my money later? And not every deal has all 3. Like the slot deal only has money now. And all it does is it qualifies the amount of time that you're going to put into the deal.
Right.
So you might make $5,000 doing a slot deal, which is a sandwich lease option transfer, which is pretty much like wholesale lease options. Right. So if you did that deal and you made $5,000, well, you're not going to spend 4 months on it. You're lucky if you spend 4 hours on it. You know what I mean? It's like you got to clarify that. But anyways, money now, with money now, that means paying those ugly debts. You get a new car, you go on vacation, or all the things that we just spoke about. Plainly, whatever your heart desires. And especially if you're doing, because a lot of times I'll get students say, well, I got $800,000 houses. Good. Because on a slot deal, you can make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 as your profit in the deal.
Yeah.
You do $50,000 houses, you're going to make $5,000. It's the same work, just different numbers. Like we do $200,000 houses, so it's common. It's $10,000, $15,000. Right? Like this house I'm going to get ready to sell. We bought this house that I just told you is vacant. We bought this house. I think we paid $130,000 for it, right? We have a note that we have to pay her, which we have to start looking at. But more importantly, we sold it, I think, for $149,000. And Sean's looking at it, he says, oh, yeah, the thing's like $200 and change now, so we're going to sell for $199,000.
Wow.
So we got like $8,000 from her, $7,000 from her. I don't even remember how much. So now we'll get $10,000 or $12,000. Right?
Sure.
So Money monthly is where you can fire your boss or stop doing what makes you income now. So whatever makes you income now that you're not happy with, if you're happy with it, then you should keep doing it. But if you're not happy with it, this is how you replace your income, right? It's done by making $500 to $1,000 per deal. And that is not some fictitious thing. I mean, if you listen to a lot of other gurus or other podcasts, we do it almost every deal. And the reason why is because not only do we get a spread on our rent, it's not really rent, it's a mortgage, which is the number one thing most people don't talk about, is our income or our lease or our it's not a lease. The income we get from the property, the money in the income is based on a mortgage, not on a lease. Too many students come in and they say, well, the rentometer says it's worth $1,300. How am I going to get $1,800? Well, we're not renting it. We're giving them a temporary mortgage.
Well, either way you look at it, when they close the deal, they have to pay the mortgage, and it will be a certain number. So that's the number. Plus something, maybe.
If they're promising to pay you on an option $200,000, why would you give them a $1,300 a month mortgage? Because when they go get a mortgage, I give them a $1,200 a month lease. Because when they go get a mortgage, it's going to be $1,600. So they're never going to want to go get a mortgage. So why do that?
Yeah, and there's no landlord in the world that charges what he pays without adding a few $100s on top,
Right.
Profit.
Right. Well, there are some, but those are not good landlords. So
that's
a whole nother podcast.
Ain't the way to do it.
So my point is not only do we get this spread, like right now is the best time in the world to do this because you can buy a subject to property that has a 3% mortgage, and today's current rate is 6 or 7%. That's a $300 or $400 difference just in what you can charge and what you can buy for. It's a huge business right now. But forget about that. Not only do we have the spread between what we pay and what we charge rent for or what we get for a mortgage, but we also do down payment assistance. And that always brings it up to $300, right? Yeah. So that's why we get $500 to $1,000 per deal, right?
And that's cash flow every month.
It's cash flow every month on almost every deal. Right? And which then we talk about, which we'll talk about in a minute. This is the most obvious secret, and if you do what we're about ready to talk about, the easiest thing to do once you get my secret steps is what we're talking about, right? Is get these deals. Money later is your retire early wealth, right? Which once you start stacking up 30 grand to 100 grand or more in equity for each deal, life starts to make sense. Right? So that's number one secret. The second secret that I wanted to talk about is when you're trying to accomplish something challenging or difficult that you have never done before, you probably need to take the path of finding a who, not how to do it. Right? So what that means is you ask yourself, how do I get this task done?
Right.
Instead of asking, how do I get this task done? You say, who can get this task done for me? And it's a little bit of a point there because people think, well, I don't have any money. Who am I going to pay? But I can tell you right now, I've been in the business for a long time, and commission is an amazing thing. Like, I've had people work for me and put their hours in and do their own stuff, and I pay them when we get a deal. I give them a percentage of the deal. Right. Like, you get me a deal, I'll get you $1,000. I'll give you a $1,000 commission. Somebody will work quite a while for a $1,000 commission. Right. Especially if they know what they're doing. If they know what they're doing, they'll be like, oh, I'll get $3,000 this month. I'll buy them 3 houses. Yeah. Right. So when you ask, how do I get this done? That creates too much work for you. It sucks your time and your energy and all that kind of stuff, right? Too many rookies tell me this. I'm going to find a deal to pay for the course of the coaching, right? They're going to go learn how to do it, right? As if they know how to do it, and they don't. So they have to go learn. Then they make their real estate career all about learning and never doing anything that counts, like making an offer. And I've talked to real estate investors that have been in the business for 5, 8 years and have made like 3 offers. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. So when all they needed to do was just ask someone, ask themselves in the beginning, who can help me achieve my first deal?
Mm-hmm.
Who? Right? Instead of how can I accomplish my first deal? See, the who will get them there quicker, right? Which is, I mean, this is no secret. I read a book a long time ago called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Go read the book. I mean, it explains it. But the point is that too many distractions. Okay. So which, as I just pointed out, only has you engaged in the tasks. So the who only has you engaged in the task, simply out of habits, right? It's just a bunch of habits. In the future, it just gives you failed purposes or incorrect results, right?
Yeah. When you don't know what you're doing, you waste a lot of time doing the wrong things or wondering what to do. And there's a lot of waste there.
Yeah. So I don't understand this question from JR. I don't know what rental arbitrage is. So he says is subleasing a rental arbitrage a viable or reliable source of income cash flow in relating to buying a house?
Is that subleasing? You're leasing and then subleasing, like you're going to get a spread from the sublease if you up it.
So JR, I can't help you, man, because I mean, if you want to send me a support ticket, that's good. What is your advice for a first-time home buyer? Go buy a house.
Listen to our podcast. Oh, yeah, here we are.
Yeah, go buy a house. I don't use banks, so first-time home buyer doesn't mean anything to me. You know, first-time home buyer means your first check. That's what it means to me. It means your first profit. So I don't use banks, so it's not. And I don't know what you're talking about rental arbitrage. I've never even heard that language before, so I guess I'm the dumbass here. So, but I definitely will say yes. Subleasing is a very reliable source because that's how I make all my money. It's exactly what we're talking about today. So, all right, good. So let's just move on here. So who has the skills, knowledge, connections, and the expertise to get it done ASAP? So the interesting thing is you think you're saving money by doing it yourself. I'll go figure it out. But how much money did you actually lose by not doing a deal?
Yeah. A wise businessman once said the biggest loss of money to you is the money you didn't make.
Yeah. Ron LeGrand says, you think education's expensive?
Yeah.
Try ignorance.
Try ignorance. Yeah, that's an old line from him. Yeah.
So all I'm saying at this particular point is that I lost my train of thought.
Well, real guidance is worth it.
Yeah.
How many people hire coaches, professional athletes, actors, they have coaches. Why are they making bazillions of dollars?
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's like who can do it for you? Like a good VA could do it. A good virtual assistant could do it for you.
That's true too, not just a coaching.
You know what I mean? It's not just a coaching. It's all of it, right?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that the runway is a lot longer when you ask who can help me with this. It could be a family member being on the phones for you and texting. It could be you could tell your 15-year-old kid, like, I'll give you $250 if you find me a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy you a car. There's so many different ways to do it. I mean, you're going to buy him a car anyway. So, you just got to be clever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but I can't resist saying this because it is 100%, 1000% true in my mind. It's the exact reason why we created Creative REI Replay. Creative REI Replay is our version of a who.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, we give you leads, right? Creative real estate calculator, right? We give you all the paperwork. We have push button document generation and even a system that sells quickly. So like a who like us can help you get jump started in getting you a Gargantuan deal in the next 30 days. We've had so many people come into our system that we have testimonials on Thursday night. Every Thursday night we do a support call for an hour, and always lasts a little longer. But so anybody that owns Creative REI Replay can come on the support call, and we help them with the system, with their deals, with whatever they need. We just help them for an hour a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I get a lot of feedback from it, and one of the things that I hear a lot, almost every single time we get somebody that says, I've been trying to do this for 3 years and I've been in here for 3 weeks and I got a deal. I got one guy that tried doing it for 10 years and within a month he got a deal. Right. And that's because we put leads in there. We get leads, we skip trace them, put them in, which means we get their contact information. We put them in the system. We hook them up to the right campaign. We trigger the campaign so it runs, and then the people that respond are the people that you deal with. And then you text them 1 or 2 times. You get on the phone with them. We have a script. You follow the script. The script gets you the 5 or 6 numbers that you need. You hit calculate. It opens up a creative real estate calculator that Sean and I made. And it shows you all of my 7 deals. It shows you which deal is good or bad based on a red, yellow, or green light. Red is you don't do the deal. Yellow is you can adjust the numbers and still do the deal. And obviously green is all systems go. Let's do it. It's good for the seller, good for you, good for the buyer. And it's all done for you, right? Then once you click on the name of the deal, you go into another section of the calculator, and there's a checklist of 8 or 10 things that you need to ask the seller or go over with the seller before you get off the phone with them to make sure that they are qualified and they know what you're doing, right? And all that's important, right? Because how many times have we had deals that we think we have, right? Mm-hmm. And they ghost us. They just were like, yeah. Well, if you go through the checklist, it actually tells you whether the customer's real or not, because they can't say yes to all these things and then just it's just kind of hard. And then when you're all done, you hit save, and then the save sends you to a memorandum, and it prints the document for you, and you just send it to the customer.
Yeah, that checklist is really smart, because when we're talking to somebody about something, if they say kind of yes, you don't want to pester them too much and ask too many questions. They might say no. But if you don't find out, it turns out to be no anyways. You might as well ask and make it definitive, or just not. Just move on.
So that's why I say Creative REI Reply is our version of a who.
Never thought of it that way, but it totally is.
Yeah. Right. So like I said, a who like us can jumpstart your career. I mean, it could take you from doing no deals to doing deals. In fact, I'm in the middle of doing some testing or trying to do some testing. I haven't really done a good job of it. I've only worked on it 1 day this week, but I'm doing some testing as if I have my own account. You and I have an account, and I'm just treating it like it's just a brand new account. Mm-hmm. And I have leads going in there, and I'm personally going to hire a virtual assistant for an hour a day at $6 an hour, and have the VA go in and do the texting and make the phone calls. So now I'm hoping that once I get her trained here in a few weeks, or him, whoever it is, all I need to do is go in and see what offers the VA made, and I start picking and choosing which ones I want. Right? Now, that's a little bit of a pipe dream right now, but by the end of the year, I expect to have it figured out.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put all that training right in Creative REI Replay to show you how to do it. Right?
And the end of the year is only 30 days away, folks. It's not like January.
Yeah, I move quick sometimes.
It's not like a year. It's a few weeks.
So my point is not to push Creative REI Replay. I'm not here to sell that. My point is that that's a who.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by a who, right? You don't find yourself right here. So basically it's a business in a box. So that's what I just explained. So the point is that you can't sit just by yourself, procrastinate, and most often years and years worth of study. You can't do that, right? Which is just money going out and no money coming in.
Yeah, but Bill, it proves that it doesn't work, so it's not your fault.
Yeah, exactly. So that was secret number 2, right? So it's like it's the distractions and finding a who instead of finding out how. That's a big thing, right? And in the end, you'll realize you spent, like I said, way more money on how to do it than just hiring who to do it in the beginning.
Yeah, that works really well. I use that in all parts of my life. Anything I need, like, don't know what to do with that. Don't know how to find a dog sitter. Ask who knows where to find a dog sitter. Anything. Who's work really good when you're stuck? Well, I don't know who can do that. Ask who can find somebody who can or who can help. It really works in anything. Smart.
Right. So this is a little bit weird what I'm going to say right now, but it really is like, I mean, think of it like this. It's like a communication channel.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so who has an audience that would be willing to like have something that you want? And how could you get your communication on that channel? Like, who could you talk to that's like the opinion leader or the spokesperson or the one that communicates to everybody in that group? Like for example, not to be religious, because I don't mean that. It's just easy to understand. Like, you take a Protestant church, right? So if you wanted to sell, not even sell, if you wanted to do like a craft fair, right?
Yep.
You wouldn't go around and talk to all the parishioners. You're better off to just go to the minister and say, hey, I want to do a craft fair and I want to donate all the money to the church. And now he stands up on the podium on Sunday and he says to 200 or 300 people or whatever it is. I mean, down south, my mother goes to church, there's 2,500 people, right?
Wow.
Yeah. They stand up on the podium and they say, oh, by the way, and there you go. You stand in the back of the room and everybody comes to you.
All right. You know what else happens? The minister says, by the way, talk to Mrs. Foley, because she's the one who organizes all this and has all the people in the chairs and the tables, and she'll help you do it, because he's not doing it.
That's what my point is that you get on that communication channel and he sends them to you. Like, you're the person doing the craft fair. So you stand in the back of the church and they all come to you and like, oh, I can donate this, or I can do that, or I can help on Friday, or I can bake brownies, or, the point is that's what you want to do. So when we're talking about a who, and we're spending way too much time on this, but when you're talking about a who, that's what you should envision.
Yeah. Is
that person that has the key to the communication or the know-how to do it. And I will tell you this. So many people want to hire a mentor, somebody like me, to show them how they want to be coached and all that kind of stuff. If you find the right who, just watch them work and you'll learn. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. I've hired employees that know how to do something, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know you could do that. And they just did it. They're like doing that thing because I hired a talented person, and now they're working for me, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, oh my God. And I learn from them.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something I didn't know how to do. All right. So obviously, we're talking about creative REI reply and spending money, and people think I'm trying to sell them something, and we've already had 4 or 5 people drop off or whatever. I can see the number up here, like people think I'm something. So I can't just do that. Although I'm not trying to sell you anything. I could care less whether you're going there. We have a thriving business already, and whatever, if you join or not, it doesn't matter to me. It matters to you, though. If you do one deal, it'll matter to you. But because of who I am, I can't do just one side of it and think that you're selling me something. So let's do the manual side of it for those that don't want to get this important message and I'm giving you on finding the who, and they still want to do the how, because I'm going to tell you there's a lot of people listening to us right now that may not get that. They have barriers in their own mind, like usually money. How am I going to pay them? That's usually the first barrier, which, like I said, if you find the right, or they don't know how to find someone, right? They don't know how to find a who. I'm going to give you a quick story, all right? So we're formulating creative REI replay. And I have this idea as a calculator, which you know about because I've talked to you about it forever. Right?
Yep.
So David, who is one of our partners, who owns REI Replay, he's one of our partners, and we're trying to develop this calculator, and he says he's got this developer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked to the developer, and it was way expensive, and he wanted 3 times the amount of time we were expecting to do. If we went with him, it was 2 or 3 times, well, probably 4 times the amount of money that we paid, and we would have been into 2023 with development.
Months. Yeah.
So Sean, being as clever as he is, goes onto a website called Upwork. Now, Upwork is a place where you can hire people for just about anything. Fiverr's another one, but Fiverr's a little bit less of a grade. Upwork is like, we found this developer that was absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lot less money, and he did the project in like 2 weeks. 3 weeks, actually. We're still, in fact, it's gotten to a point now where we just retain him, and he's like on our payroll because he's done that. But that was finding a who. We found a who. This guy has solved some problems for us. We had no idea how to solve them, and him and his brother worked together. And then we needed somebody that, do some AWS stuff, which is, for hosting and all that kind of stuff. He knew somebody, so we hired that guy. You see what I'm saying? We just hired the right who, and all of a sudden it got done. Like within a month, it was all done, and it was a lot less money than we had even anticipated doing. Right? So it's very important. Anyways, so like I said, it could be a lot cheaper. I've spent half the podcast on this because it's so important. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to ramble off the checklist of things you should do. And then, like I said to you, in the description is how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you what to do right now. And then in the description, it's going to be how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just go in there and everything's there, right? But remember, it is the incorrect way to gargantuan profits quickly. Because it's knowing how to do it. It's not getting a who.
Mm-hmm.
So just realize that. Okay, I'm going to tell you because we have a lot of people out there that are stuck on money and feel like $100 is a lot of money or $1,000 is a lot of money. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to $1,000 because it is a lot of money. But here's the difference between what I'm talking about and those people. It's called scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
We'll actually talk about this in our next podcast. But scarcity is one of a couple things. Number one, you're afraid that you can't get it back. Scarcity is if I give up $1,000, I won't get more than $1,000 back.
Yeah.
You're not confident in yourself that you can get it back or you can make it, which is number two. You don't feel like you can make it. You don't have enough confidence in yourself to be able to make it. So scarcity is a huge issue for a lot of people, right? All right, number one in the checklist. Here we go. Figure out your best real estate farm market and type of deal structure you can do with the available resources you have now. So we've talked about this many times. I'm not going to rant on about this, but I'm going to tell you right now, your backyard is not your best place all the time. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest barriers I'm finding now, which I never thought of before, Peter, is that people, such as yourself, as a matter of fact, you want to do deals in your backyard, but it's not a good turf. It's not a good place. The market, the emerging market from Dave Lindahl's book about emerging markets is not in the right cycle. Right? It's not in the right cycle. I mean, Dave Lindahl talks about in his book, Emerging Markets, buyer phase 1, buyer phase 2, seller phase 1, seller phase 2, right? And it's not in the right cycle, right? The market's either depressed or it's overpopulated, or like lately, it's just that it's overinflated. We are actually now, we have been in seller stage 1 for about 2 years. And now it's switching to seller stage 2, which means that seller stage 1 is they're overinflated prices. You put them on the market, they sell in 2 or 3 days, and it's hard to make an offer on them because there's just so many buyers and not enough sellers, right? But it's transitioning now. It's transitioning now because in seller market phase 2, what happens is the prices get overinflated and people stop, for whatever reason, people stop buying. And yeah, so we're transitioning into that. But like me, I went to Akron, Ohio. It's not like that. It's still seller phase one there. I'm sorry. It's seller phase two ahead. So there's properties to be bought. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I just confused a whole lot of people with what I just said, but go read the book. It's Dave Lindahl. It's Emerging Markets. It's a great book. Okay. But the point is that you could pick your area. And that's one of the great things about Creative RE. I Reply, or any software like it, not even my software, but is you can do virtual deals now. It's not as hard as you think. Right. So picking your farm market is very important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can explain it different, like a rookie way. When the market's really hot, it's too late. It's too late. You got out of bed way too late. It's too hot. It's over. You got to get it when it's not so hot. Then you can buy stuff.
Yep.
If you can't buy stuff, you can't sell houses. So you don't want it too hot.
Yep. Well, a hot market is something that you can sell within 30 days. Mm-hmm. A cold market is one that takes over 90 days. Mm-hmm. So the perfect market is somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was telling my coaching clients the other day is they've not experienced. As a matter of fact, I spoke to my ex-partner yesterday, and we were actually talking about this. Is in 2009, he says, I went through that in 2009. I'm like, I was there with you, and he doesn't say anything. He forget. He's 83 years old. He forgot that I was with him, and I did all the work. He in his head, he did everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the point is that the trouble we had in 2009 was finding tenant buyers. Right. So we were doing we'll give you 1 month's free rent. We'll give you $3,000, all this kind of weird stuff we were doing. We were giving them money to move in.
Weird.
Yep. All right. Number 2 on the checklist. Go find those motivated sellers and ask them what would have to happen for me to buy your house today, or what's needed and wanted. Step number 3, make a script that gets price, payment, duration, or the term of the deal, and down payment if they ask. Or get my proven script and practice it until you're good at it, which is the link in the description. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, this is simplicity. It's like, just do this. Just do this and it will happen. Don't complicate it. Don't go study. Don't go watch a video. Don't be perfected at it. I think last podcast in 331, I talked about my engineer buddy, right? Mm-hmm. Remember we talked about my engineer buddy was like due one. Like he had 16 windows in his house that needed trim. And his brother-in-law said he can do it. So he said to his brother-in-law, come over here. I'll pay you double your regular fee to just do one. Just do one window. And then he says his point is number 1, he can see how hard or how easy the window is to do. Yep. And number 2, he can watch him work to see what it's going to be like. Is there going to be like sawdust all over the house, or is it going to be neat? All that kind of stuff. So he's like, I'll just pay you one. You just come do one, and I'll pay you double. Right? And then he can make a better decision. So each one of these steps, you just need to do it once. Just go do it once so you can get used to it. Just do it once, and don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just do it once.
Yeah.
Right. Number 4, once you have some agreements in place with the seller on the phone, on price, payment, duration, deposit if they ask for it, then you send them a memorandum. The memorandum is a non-legal binding contract. It's not legal at all. Some of them are. I've made mine, so it isn't. Why do we have them sign a memorandum? Because they're showing their interest, right?
Yeah, so, some commitment.
So one of the things that we don't talk enough about is the difference between interest and desire. Mm-hmm. Right? So desire is, yeah, I wish I can do that. Like, for example, with a coaching client, yeah, I wish I could make a $30,000 check. Everybody that's listening to us right now is in desire. I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. Interest is, I'm going to actually do something about it. So when you're talking about you talking to your seller what you do is you give them things to do and you test them. Like, do they wish they can sell the house and they're just sitting back and wanting you to do all the work? Or are they actually interested and they're willing to participate? Yeah. So what I do in my transactions is I monitor who's doing all the work. Like, I'll give you an example. The appointment that I'm going to today, Sunday night, I was watching TV. It was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And this seller called me twice. I didn't know who it was. My phone was in the other room. Called me twice. Yeah. Monday morning, it was my student's guy that I talked to him, and he's all of a sudden coming up to Connecticut, and he wanted to talk to me. He came from Virginia just to talk to me. Okay, so I'm going to meet him at 1 o'clock. He called me 3 times. So he called me twice on Sunday, 3 times Monday morning, and I was in appointments all day Monday. Like, so who's doing all the work there? He's coming from Virginia to visit me because he wants to put a deal together.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. So who's doing all the work in the deal? Is it the seller doing the work, or is it you? And that's a gauge, because if you're doing all the work, and that's what I call begging.
Yeah, you can't be doing all the work. It's like chasing the girl.
Yeah.
That doesn't work out so hard. They'll run.
And my saying is that the harder or the faster you chase a seller, the faster they run.
Yeah.
Right. So don't chase them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Number 5, go into the deal meeting mode, because you have a memorandum. So the memorandum proves that they're in interest and they're willing to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It also triggers the deal meeting, and the deal meeting is time to do all your due diligence in the property. Up until this point, all the due diligence has been on your seller. Like, you're testing the seller's willingness and their motivation and what they're going to do, what they're not going to do, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Up until now. Now that you have the memorandum signed and you're sort of convinced that they're going to go through with the deal and they're not going to change their mind. And I mean, that's very possible, but it's once they sign the document, it's a mental state that they sign something so they feel like they have a deal.
Yep.
Right? It's a mental state. Now you're going to go do your due diligence on the property. Now you're going to go figure out, is it a good neighborhood? You're going to see if the house is dysfunctional, meaning that it's got, it's a 10,000 square foot house and it's got 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, or you got to walk through a bedroom to get to a bathroom, or you got to walk through a bedroom to get to another bedroom, or there's bedrooms that don't have closets. That's all dysfunctional stuff, right?
Yep.
Or is the house worth whatever you promised to pay, or is it like too little or too much? And you're going to do all that in the deal meeting, right? Not only are you going to do that in the deal meeting, but you're going to once you do your discovery in the deal meeting and you figure out that you want to do it, that's when you're going to do all your paperwork and you're going to do your closing. You're going to prepare for the closing, right? Am I going too fast or talking too much?
No, I think it's okay. Because if anyone's listened to a few podcasts, this should be a bit familiar as you put the pieces together. It should be fine.
So once you get all that prepared, you get your due diligence done. And so many people are worried about, because they wrote an offer, they have to. It's like the 10 Commandments. It's written in stone. It's going to be around for 2,000 years. You know what I mean? And it's like they're stuck with it. No, offers change all the time. You make an offer on the phone. You never seen the house. You go out and look at the house, and you're like, oh, the house is red. I don't like red houses, so I'm only going to offer you this much money. You can change your offers because you're not in a legal binding contract. Even if you are in a legal binding contract, there's a lot of weasel clauses in them, like purchase sales contracts and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So, until you go to the lawyer's office, you sit down, you sign the last line, and money changes. I mean, people have purchase sales contracts, and it ends.
Right. So now you move on to step 6, which is get documents signed, acquire the property, right? And there's a big note here. If you're nervous about pricing dropping or did not negotiate enough equity in your deal, I can't emphasize this enough. There's so many ways that you can handle this in your own head, but I'm going to try to keep this short. But don't put a deed in your name. The only time you actually lose money in a deal is when you put a deed in your name and you're stuck with it, because a deed means you own it.
That's right.
Right? So instead of if you're nervous about price decreasing, you're worried about, the economy, you're worried about, I don't know, the wind might blow wrong, you know, or whatever. You have lack of confidence in yourself and in your evaluation system. You're just a nervous person to begin with. Just don't put a deed in your name. So just do lease options or do things like land contracts, right? Sean had came up with this by mistake because we were doing properties in Ohio and we weren't sure of the neighborhood. So what we would do is we would tell the sellers, well, we're going to give you an option agreement for 30 days and we're going to show the house. We actually get the seller to show the house for us. It was incredible, right? Now we have a 30-day option. We go market the house to buyers and we find out what the buyers actually want to do. Then we make our offer. See, this goes back to where we were talking about this big epiphany that we had here a bunch of podcasts ago about the only way you can truly negotiate a property is if you know what you can sell it for.
Right.
If you know you can get $200,000, then you know you got to pay less than $200,000.
Sure. And the sellers do whatever they do, comp to the neighborhood. My friend sold his house. The realtor said this. The realtor said that. But nobody knows. I mean, I asked a few realtors about a house I was working on, but you don't really know because it's up to the market.
Right.
Somebody's got to walk in with a check in his hand or.
So why not do what the realtor does? Because that's what a realtor does. A realtor signs a 6-month listing agreement and they go find out what the market's willing to do. And they come back and say, oh, you got to drop the price by 10 grand. Or somebody offered me 120 for your $180,000 house. What do you think? You know, I mean, that's what the realtor's doing. So that you can do the same thing. So you just give an option agreement for 30 days. You put the house on the market. Now again, I'm not trying to sell anything here, but in Creative REI Reply, there's actually a module in there that does the selling process for you. So Sean puts pictures on there and literally in about 45 minutes, he has it all up and running. Right. I mean, he puts the house on Zillow, he puts it on Facebook, and he puts the Creative REI Reply phone number in there. All the messages come in there. There's a whole campaign in there. So when they text, it responds, it's all automated. So after 5 days or 7 days of putting the house on the market, we know what kind of response we're going to get. Right. So
usually on an option, the paperwork, you have a number there. What do you do? Like put a question mark? Just on the paperwork. I mean, how do you do that? You don't have a number in mind, right? Do you know what I'm asking?
No, I'm confused.
Well, when
you're talking about the price.
Yeah.
So when you do the option, so you just put their price there.
Oh, you put
whatever they're asking, because then you're going to go test the market, and then you come back and say, "Well, I can't get $180,000 for your house. Okay. Everybody wants to offer $170.
Okay,
so I can't do the deal." Right? So you're going to put up, you're going to put up $10 or $100 or something like that, and you're only gambling the $10 for the option consideration fee, or you're gambling the $100, whatever you're going to use, but you're not gambling the whole deal. You're only gambling the consideration deposit.
Right. And I did that recently on a house, and it gave me no concerns. And I'm a nervous person. I can be like a little worried. I don't have $1 million sitting in the bank just in case. And I really had no worries on it. It was just the option consideration and some time and a few bucks here and there, some paint and a couple of things. And you really don't have to sweat it when you do the option. That was the first one I had. All the other houses were you bought it, rented it, or renovated, sold it. It just turned out the way the deal was. So This is my first true option. And it really is worry-free in that sense. Like, doesn't work, or give it back.
It's much easier to negotiate with your seller when you know what the buyer's willing to pay.
Yeah.
So just bring it to the market first and find out what they can pay. All right. So we need to move on because we're at 59 minutes and I still have 1.5 more pages of notes, and we're only on number 6 and we need to get to number 12. I said 15 earlier, it's 12 steps. All right. So also, I just want to remind everybody that the link that's in the chat, I show you, because one of the objections about listening to us right now is, what do I use for paperwork? I actually show you how you can hire a lawyer in your backyard for $25 to help you with the paperwork.
Yep.
Okay. It's not going to be my paperwork that's like ironclad, but it'll get you a deal or two so you can get some money. Okay. So once you acquire the property, now you're going to prepare the property to sell, right? Which again, I'm not trying to convince you to do this, but in Creative REI Reply, there's checklists for all this stuff. You want to prepare your property, there's a checklist on how to prepare the property, right? So you're going to advertise it on number 8. You're going to advertise it on Zillow or Facebook. Although Facebook hasn't been very nice lately, because when we advertise a house, they shut our account down on Marketplace. So I'm not too sure about that. But Zillow rental section is where you go.
There's supposed to be a way to register that I've just briefly seen. Next time I have to deal with that, I'll look harder. There's supposed to be a way to register yourself or the property so it's like legit up front before you put it there. If it works, I don't know, but that's the one leg forward that I have on that. So you have to check into it. They're being fussy on purpose. Yep. What do you mean you want to sell houses? Why do you want to sell houses? Scam, right. Misinformation. Right. No, it's a house, please.
Yep.
People need to live somewhere. Come on.
All right, number 9, receive calls and take applications and do background checks. Number 10, you draft documents again. Like I said, the link in the description shows you how you can do these documents, shows you where to get these documents. I actually give you videos and guides, and I show you how you could pay $25 to have a lawyer in your backyard actually look at the documents, right? The number 11, you close the deal with your buyer without being a landlord. So none of this means you're the intermediate bank. Mm-hmm. So you're the matchmaker. You made arrangements with the seller to get the money, and then you lent it to your buyer. Right? Yep. And number 12, the most important part, rinse and repeat 11 more times so you can get up to $6,000 a month or $500 a deal and retire. So the question stands, will you use my who, which is Creative REI Reply or something like it, or manually do it all yourself? So if you're that person that's going to do it manually or you're by yourself, you're the guy that goes decades without buying a property. I did a survey just a couple weeks ago because I want to build a couple new courses. So I've been working on that in my spare time, right? And, one of the questions was, I forgot exactly how it went, but one of the questions was, how much do you think it cost you by not doing real estate?
Whoa.
And the number one answer was, and I'm talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of surveys. The number one answer was millions. Most of the time it was capital, full capital. The letters were capitalized. Millions, exclamation point.
Well, that's what I said before. The biggest loss of money is the money you don't make. But unless you ask somebody that question like you did, and make people look at it, it's painful. Like, oh, look what all the money I wasted not making.
Right. And then when you do one deal, you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. How come I waited so long?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So which means 12 deals a month could be done in the next 12 months if you're hiring a who, or if you're looking for a who instead of a how. In the next 12 months, you could probably retire if you really hustled.
Yeah.
Right. So I also put the Creative REI Reply link in the description. I think I did. I have to go look and make sure of that. We did a webinar. You can go watch it for free on how it all works. And I put the checklist in the description so you can go through the slow, painful process if you want to do that yourself. The checklist we were just talking about. So only decision you need to make now is how fast do you want to make money in creative real estate. Both ways cost you, but one will give you a deal right away and the other one will take years. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Peter. As I have said 1,000 times or more, there's a link in the description, so go ahead and click on it if you want extra help. That's the Stay After School for Extra Help program.
No, what you said before was really a revelation to me. Maybe a year or two ago when I first bumped into it with you, people tell you all the time what to do. Like you have to learn how to be patient, or you should you read a book, here's what to do. But like, wait a minute, how do I do that? That feeling you get, like, what am I missing? It's different. How is different than what?
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Yeah, I know what to do, but I mean, it's like messing with me and computers. I can do a lot of things, but then I like this one, I don't know how. And it's just, I don't know how. And, you and other people look at me, that's what you do. I know what to do. I don't. So you have to find that part out too. And it's two separate things. It's separate things.
It's the details.
You pick up the guitar and you go like this. No, there's a lot of details in that. Or, houses, anything, driving a car. How?
And there's a lot of pieces to it because it's like, you could just have never seen it before and have no clue what it looks like. And so you won't absorb any information, mm-hmm. or it could be like you're too steep of a gradient. Like you're at kindergarten and they're trying to teach you like 11th grade math.
Yeah.
Right. Like somebody like me could easily do that. You come into a podcast and we're like, in it's your first podcast with us and we're talking about all this advanced stuff. And you're like, what is he talking about? Right. Or it could just be that you don't understand something. Like there's some word, like the most common misunderstood word we have in creative real estate is the word option.
Yep.
I have other gurus that I talk to and it just irritates the crap out of me because it's like, yeah, you got plenty of options.
Oh,
the option you should choose is this, or how about this option? And it's like, no, you can't do that in creative real estate. You should replace the word with choices. How about this choice or that choice? Yeah. Because option has multiple definitions, right? So the word option in creative real estate has a specific definition,
mm-hmm.
and it's not like an option is the ability to control the property. It's a document. It's a legal description. It's not like, oh, you have an option, like you have a choice or you have a.
Right. See, a lot of words have many meanings, but then you get meanings that are specific to a field or a subject or a business. It means something different.
The other one is subject to. That's a big misunderstood.
Well, it doesn't. That's short for something longer.
It's slang. It's slang.
Yeah.
It's slang for subject to the existing mortgage, but they don't always say the other part of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like so short, you don't get the whole thing. No, the word I like, that's all misunderstood. Terms.
Yeah, terms. Yeah.
There's two big different meanings. One is the parts of a contract, like all the conditions. Yeah. You have to do this, you have to do that. And the simple one is how long.
Right.
Congress is in session for another term. It means a certain amount of time.
Right.
And it's two different meanings, same word. And then forget the rest of the definitions in addition. But that's two big ones. And you think you've heard it and you don't ask and you get lost that easy. Which one is it? As so keep your phone handy, keep a dictionary handy and look them up, boys and girls.
All right, good. So let's bug out of here because we're at 8 minutes after the hour. So thank you for listening to us today. Thank you for all your support. Go to WhatsApp Messenger, find Let's Talk Real Estate, get in the group, and let's chat about some things. If you have any specific questions that you need technical help with, you can go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, top right-hand side, hit the support button. It'll send a ticket right to me. Make sure you click on the link in the description because there's a lot of goodies in there this time. And next podcast, which is podcast number 333, right? Yes.
Should be.
Is called Common Rookie Creative Real Estate Ignorance Tax Stops Retiring Early Profits. Very interesting podcast. So make sure you listen to that. Okay. Over and out, guys. Thank you for your support again. And I hope to hear from you soon.